Exclusive Mr Farage declared that his party managed to force a vote on Labour's useless border bill, accusing the Conservatives of planning to let it pass unchallenged. Nigel Farage branded Labour ministers who failed to vote for Keir Starmer's small boats plan complacent as a new row engulfed Westminster. The Reform UK leader declared that his party managed to force a vote on the useless border security, asylum, and immigration bill, accusing the Conservatives of planning to abstain and let it pass unchallenged. Mr Farage told the Daily Express, "We intend to disrupt the cosy status quo," adding his party are the real opposition. Chancellor Rachel Reeves, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy and Cabinet Office Minister Pat McFadden were among 70 Labour MPs who failed to vote for the bill. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage told the Daily Express, "If it wasn't for Reform UK MPs forcing a vote on the bill's second reading, by putting up our own tellers, there would not have been one." The Conservative Party were happy to vote only on their amendment and abstain on the bill itself. That many Labour ministers did not vote for their own flagship borders bill shows just how complacent they really are. There may only be 5 Reform MPs, but we intend to disrupt the cosy status quo in the House of Commons. Last night was the latest example of us doing just that. The bill passed its first parliamentary hurdle on Monday by 333 votes to 109, a majority of 224. But the Conservatives came out fighting on Tuesday, with Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp insisting his party opposed the border surrender bill. He added, "No Reform MP even bothered attempting to give a speech in the debate lasting 5 hours. Conservatives are the only opposition." Mr Philp pointed to a Tory amendment to the legislation, which would prevented the bill from passing had it been successful. Reform sources believe that after the Tories tried to thwart the bill, the Conservatives did not plan to formally vote it down by calling for a division. Shadow Home Office Minister Matt Vickers said, "Labour frontbench ministers are running scared from their own policies. They want high immigration, worse public services, and a pathway to citizenship for criminal migrants." But Labour hit back, with Border Security Minister Angela Eagle saying, "When it comes to backing up their words with action, Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage have shown they really don't care about securing Britain's borders. It's a day of shame for them both." The Tories lost control of our borders with immigration at a record high of nearly 1 million, as small boat crossings rocketed. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage would rather sound off in TV studios than actually do anything to tackle the issue. The opposition parties just aren't serious about securing our borders. This Labour government is taking tough action on immigration through our plan for change. We've increased deportations, returns and removals are at the highest rate for 6 years, and we're cutting the costs of the asylum system. If the Conservatives and Reform were serious about protecting our borders, they would stop blocking this progress. Labour's plans came under fire from both sides of the House of Commons on Monday night. Conservative MP Nick Timothy warned Labour, "You're rushing illegal immigrants through the asylum system and parking them on benefits and giving them council housing." Veteran Labour MP Diane Abbott said, "This is a difficult time to speak up for a fair and ethical immigration policy, with the tides of far-right politics sweeping Europe and maybe even lapping on the shores of this country. But does Ms. Cooper accept that she has a danger of sounding like she is trying to stigmatise desperate migrants rather than building a fair system?" Home Secretary Ms. Cooper replied, "Immigration has always been an important part of the UK, but in order for that to be so, the rules need to be respected and enforced, and we cannot allow the criminal gangs to end up putting lives at risk in this way, or to undermine our border security." Labour frontbencher Ms. Cooper has insisted smashing the gangs will end the migrant crisis, despite fears over a lack of a deterrent. Border Force and the National Crime Agency will also be given counter-terrorism-style powers to go after the gangs. Small boat arrivals face up to 5 years in prison if they refuse to be rescued in the Channel by the French authorities. A new offence will be created to target those endangering another life during a crossing. This means anyone fighting with French police on the beaches, holding children over the edge of a small boat or rushing vessels as they try to launch could all be prosecuted, with a maximum penalty of 5 years behind bars. Making the case for the change, Ms. Cooper told the Commons, one such case was last April, when a 7-year-old girl died, but others on the boat refused rescue and remained on the boat to travel to the UK, even though people on that boat had died, even though many of them were complicit in the crushing and in putting lives at risk. We need to be able to take stronger action here in the UK. We need to be able to extradite people to return to France to face trial, but we also need powers here in the UK. Sarah, 7, suffocated after being trampled on an overcrowded boat. She was among 5 who died in the tragedy in April 2024. Criminals caught selling or handling small boat parts, such as engines or life jackets, could also be jailed for up to 14 years. The law changes are designed to replicate powers in the Terrorism Act 2006, so that preparing for a crossing and possession of equipment such as boats, engines and life jackets would be a criminal offence if the intention was to use them to take migrants across the Channel. Explaining the proposal, Ms. Cooper said, "We need to be able to extradite people to return to France to face trial, but we also need powers here in the UK. So that is why a new offence of endangering life at sea is being introduced to send a clear message that we will take action on those who are complicit in the loss of life, or risk to life at sea. Those involved in behavior that puts others at risk of serious injury or death, such as physical aggression, intimidation, or ejecting rescue attempts, will face prosecution." Intervening, Labour MP Kim Johnson, Liverpool Riverside, said, "The Prime Minister has formally promised to defend migrants and to develop a system based on compassion and dignity, and that can be resolved by looking at safe routes. People wouldn't put their lives on the line and put themselves in danger if there were safe routes, so can the Minister tell us what will be in this bill that supports safe routes?"